Today on Pots and Trowels we're going to be supporting perennials and dealing with a frost damaged fuchsia, and that's brought to you with the support of Darlac, Mr Fothergill's and Cobra Garden. Hello, welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, today we're going to be tackling this hardy fuchsia. It's quite a big bush here. It's been here for quite a lot of years, but it's been damaged by that really cold weather. We had very cold weather through the winter, some very heavy frost here, but then of course April we had a month of overnight frost, and it's done for the top growth. Now it is hardy, so it's not dead, and if we look at it closely we can see we've got quite a bit of growth coming in some places, especially near the wall where it's a little bit more protected, but certainly the front of this shrub here is dead. And if I just snap a couple of pieces off like this, you can see it is totally dead and quite dry there. So this won't grow. What we need to do is to cut it back to living wood. It will recover, and by the end of the summer this will be a huge bush again and full of flowers, but we need to get rid of this. So I need my loppers for this. There's some pretty thick branches and I've got to be fairly drastic. There's no point going around with your secateurs just pruning the little bits and bobs off the end, because we're still going to have so much dead material in the centre. So we need to bring out the big tools for this. So I'm going to go in and cut some branches off. I could, in theory, cut this down to ground level and it would reshoot from dormant buds below soil level, but if I look in here quite closely I can see there is quite a lot of new growth in there on some of these older branches. So I'm going to use that as a framework that will then sprout out. So I've just got to cut my way in initially and pull out some of these big branches. So and these loppers will cut branches that are a couple of inches in diameter, so it will make very light work of pruning this. Anything that is obviously dead, like that one, we need to get rid of, and these branches that are overhanging I'm going to go back, and always try and cut, if you can, to some living shoots. So if we look just here we can see there's a nice little cluster there of living shoots that want to grow. So what I'm going to do is just cut back above those, get rid of this branch above it, and that means all the sap that's coming up now will make those bush out. So it's just a case of going round the bush and giving it a really good prune. Seems a shame to be cutting the flowers off, but that one little bit on its own would look odd, so we've got to sacrifice that. And what I'm doing is I've cut it quite hard back, as you can see, to almost stumps. It's no good leaving long branches on like this. So what I'm actually going to do with this one is, I know it seems drastic, but I'm going to take that one back to there, and then all this growth here will bush out. So we're going to get a really compact growth habits. And finally, just to finish off with this, any little dead stumpy bits, just use your secateurs just to go round, tidy it up. So any little bits like that, just trim it round, and that is it. So it looks very drastic pruning it back like that, but that will now burst into growth and we're going to have a fantastic flowering fuchsia later on the season. But before we go, I want to just pop round the back and show you what you can be doing with perennials at this time of the year. Now that we're getting some lovely warm weather following on from all that wet and rain that we had in May, it's the perfect time to get out into the garden because everything is starting to grow. Things like this hellebor's finished, but the perennials are now bursting into growth and flowering like this lovely astrantia. And that's good in a mixed border because then you've got things like the old daffodils. They're being hidden by this new growth. But what you do need to do is support your perennials, especially tall growing ones. Otherwise they're just going to flop over, or in windy conditions they can snap off. So while they're not too big, very simple. This is a very simple mesh system, just this circle on here, and then that's pushed into the ground like that, so that as this new growth comes up, and this plant here will probably get to 2 feet tall, it's going to be supported within this mesh of plastic coated wire. Or you can go for something slightly more decorative. I like these. I think these are really good. These can be green, they can be black, or this is the rusty effect. And again, you would just put that over a clump of perennials so that as they grow through it, you get not only this lovely decorative effect, but it's giving really good support to the perennials and keeping them upright. And if you've got low growing perennials that have a tendency to flop over the soil or on pathways or the lawn, then something like this, really simple, just a piece of steel bent into a curve, they're pushed into the ground, so it just holds the plants back and keeps them where they should be. So now is the perfect time to do it before everything gets too big and falls out of place. Thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and I hope you're enjoying this lovely weather and getting out into the garden. Next week we're going to be back in the vegetable garden, so we'll see you then. Bye.